I'd like to introduce our next guest. I'm honored that he's here. The coalition is honored that he's here. Just to give you a little bit of background, this general was the person who organized the meeting between President Trump and President Putin. He has been and still is an advocate for peace in the Middle East. He was in Syria helping the opposition group in Syria with 400 soldiers. And he has been very vocal about the conduct of the present Iranian regime. And he has tried his best and is trying in order to advise and assist Iranians to create a better life for themselves. It's an honor and a pleasure to introduce General Walli.
Thank you very much, Sean, and thank all of you for the kind invitation. It was interesting to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to catch a 6-hour flight from Montana. And for those of you who've never been to Montana, you can't get anywhere just in one flight. You always have to go somewhere else. But anyhow, thank you very much. This is very encouraging. When Sean asked me to speak, I put together my 9-page speech, which takes an hour and a half. So I only have about 15 minutes maybe, but I'll try to condense it down into some remarks that may be critical to this unification. But some of you I've known for years. Some of them I just met, my new friends Q and Ali Reza and others. It's so encouraging to look at this first step, and that's really what we're talking about here, the first step in unifying. So let me just refer to my remarks, since I took so much time to prepare them. I wouldn't want them to go without any use. But basically what we're talking about, how realistic is regime change in Iran, and how and when can it happen? We do have a president now. We have a Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, who are committed to regime change in Tehran. Of this get-together for 2 or 3 days, I will send my report directly to President Trump. To give you a little idea what's on his agenda, he was at the G7 in Quebec today, North Korea and Singapore coming up, and then after that we're pushing for another meeting between Trump and Putin. When you look at the Middle East, I know these two powers can solve the problems over there. Trump wanted to meet with Putin again earlier, but because of the fake news, as he calls it, and the mythical collusion with Russia in the election, we hope a lot of people will go to jail over that. Finally put some people in handcuffs. And so, if we get that next meeting, it's going to be very important. And then on the list is an Iran strategy and policy, along with borders. So he's got his tablet full, or his table full of things. But Iran strategy and policy are there. I just want you to know that, and that will be forthcoming. If many of our preconditions for regime change are in place, the question is the time right in the near future? To me, the answer is yes, but we must have a realistic strategy and a realistic foreign policy to be developed. Now, in the case of regime change, ladies and gentlemen, there's got to be overt actions, and there has to be covert actions, okay? So we've got to be smart on both when we formalize some kind of a strategy. And keep in mind, part of that covert has got to be very confidential between us. But that is to exercise whatever we can to the people inside of Iran, that they have people outside of Iran that are here to help them finally, after 39 years, to bring freedom and democracy to the people in Iran.
Yeah.
I'm particularly conscious of the youth. And as I understand it, my figures could be dated, but 60% of the youth is under 30 years old. Is that about right? Something like that. So whatever we do, as far as a strategy or policy, we must focus on the youth, just like we have to focus now on the youth in America, because the future is theirs. And so us that have been around a while need to always include as many 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. And we did this when I went to Egypt and met with General al-Sisi. We made sure we met with the 20 and 30-year-olds that were involved there in changing the government from the Muslim Brotherhood, Morsi, into a free democratic election. I also would like to say I have our Chief of Middle East Operations here, Colonel Mike Stevens. Mike and I are the only Americans that went inside of Syria a few years ago with 400 men of the Free Syrian Army. And so we finally got to Aleppo, at that time the most dangerous city in the world. And so we went downtown Aleppo with all these convoys, with all the guns and everything. And you can see it on YouTube, by the way. Very interesting to watch. And at that time, ISIS put a hit out on me because they found out I was inside Syria. And so they put a circle around my head and put it on the internet to kidnap and behead me. Now, that bothered me because the State Department called me, FBI called me to tell me that I was targeted. So the next week, through Colonel Stevens, I asked that certain people in Syria find out who was that put the hit out on me. Well, we found out he was a Chechenian. And he was the guy you always saw with the beard, a lot of pictures. So I said, please help me, send him to Allah early. Send him on a one-way trip to Allah early. And guess what happened? So when you put a hit out on somebody, you better be very careful when how you do that. But it was quite an experience. We couldn't get support under the Obama administration at that time. It was very frustrating. But just to show you what opposition can do, we were sitting in Antakya in Hatay province in southern Turkey, about to go into Syria, and we had, I guess 8 or 10 generals there, expatriates. Some were still working inside of Syria, back and forth, and we had a number of younger gentlemen and women involved in the opposition. And so when we started talking politics, well, this young major over here came out of the Syrian regular forces, and he said, can we stop talking about politics? What do we have to do? And so I'm scratching my head, so what am I going to tell all these people that I've met for the first time? And so I wrote the sniper program for the U.S. Army during the Vietnam period. And so I'm thinking to myself, this is what I'm going to tell them. I want you to pick the 100 top shooters that you have. Get the 400 best long rifles that you have. And I want you to form 4-person sniper teams. Shooter, spotter, and then 2 security guys. And I said, I want you to hit the airports inside Syria, particularly in Damascus. I want you to shoot the tires out of the airplanes. I want you to shoot the pilots as they're trying to get to their aircraft. And so I sort of left them with that. Well, immediately you can see everybody's on a cell phone. They were calling from Turkey inside Syria to form the troops to go out and form these 25 sniper teams. So Mike and I left on a Tuesday. We arrived in London on Thursday. Front of the London Times, Damascus International Airport is shut down due to snipers. They took our advice and started targeting the aircraft because that's what was happening. The opposition forces were continually being bombed by helicopters, and you saw the pictures, and fighter aircraft. and they couldn't fight back. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any assistance from our government at that time. So that's why when we're talking today about we now have a president that will help people to be free and seek democracy in the world, and we'll be there. But we want those people to do it, and we'll be basically assisting any way we can. And it's going to take money to do this. It's going to take organization. It's going to take a sound strategy and tactics. And whatever happens, we've got to start on it right now. Everybody's got to get involved. Everybody's got to stand up, whoever you know, and do something. Covertly and overtly, we need to have a good PR program, I'll call it. But we need to be on the air, we need to be on television, we need to start scaring the hell out of them in Tehran. That there's a force out here to be reckoned with. And that's going to energize a lot of people. But the use of social media today, very effective. We have 3 social media sites. I communicate within the Middle East and Europe on a daily basis with 30,000 followers, just on our 3 sites. So the point of strategy and policy that hopefully, Sean, I'll be able to get involved with you and help you as you need, and the organization, to bring this all together, and that we have a plan that can be executed post-haste. Not next year or 2 years from now. Let's start working on it right now. And they're going to provide me input that I can give to the White House, so that on that list that our president has, he'll be able to say, well, this is the formation of the type of strategy we need. Now, they are working on it, but it's down the list a little bit right now. So from that standpoint, I want to say that we're here to help. We love the cause. We want freedom and democracy inside Iran because of the terror and the angst and the bad situations they're creating, not only in the Middle East, but in North Africa. We may have 5,000 or 6,000 agents inside of America working against you and others. So part of that plan will be how we purge a lot of that, and we take over and start running things. I say we, as a group, to make sure that the change of government does occur, and it occurs post-haste as soon as we can. So I would say, in closing, since I've taken my 1 hour and a half speech and reduced it down to 10 or 15 minutes, that I say one nation, one people, and one Iran.
One nation,